Judges 8, and we're starting Judges 9. That was August 8th, 2014. Today is August 22nd, I think, 2014, Saturday. Maybe it's the 23rd. And so I wanted to show you what I had been shown during the service, and actually after I had come home and read more about it, and I've been praying for the last couple of weeks about what to show you and what has been revealed to me. So we finished Judges 8, where Gideon had conquered the Midianites, and so this was a great time for Israel. He had subdued them, and he had given God all the glory, which was great. But after that, the men of Israel wanted Gideon to rule over them, but Gideon did not. He said he wouldn't rule over, but he did want riches. So he asked that each of them give the earrings from his plunder, for they had gold earrings, and so they gave that to them. They gave that to him, and they gave him a lot of gold, and so basically Gideon was very rich. And what he did is he fashioned an ephod, which is the part of the garment that the priests wear, and he put this ephod up, and people began to worship the ephod instead of God. Nobody corrected them. So also Gideon had basically a whole bunch of wives, and he had 70 sons from these wives, and he also had a concubine, and in some translations it says servant, and from the servant she had a son named Abimelech. Okay, so then he dies. Gideon dies. And the children of Israel again play with the harlot, the Baals, and the Baal beareth their God. So basically, they return to idolatry in full swing. So that's kind of where we're at. Now, in Judges 9, let me go up here. And this is kind of where we kind of took off the other week, couple weeks ago. So Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, which is, when you see Jerubbaal, that's Gideon, went to Shechem to his mother's brothers and spoke with them and with the family, and saying, please speak to the hearing of all the men of Shechem, which is better for you, 70 of the sons of Jerubbaal to reign over you, or one to reign over you? And when I heard that, I was floored. I just thought the only thing I could think of was Revelation, where all of the kings give their power over to one world ruler. And so his mother's brothers spoke all the words concerning him, hearing the men of Shechem, and their hearts were inclined to follow Abimelech. So they were going to give all of their power over to Abimelech, and so they gave him 70 shekels of silver from the temple of Baalbeth. Okay, so from their idol worship, they gave him 70 shekels of silver. And when I read that earlier, about a week ago, all I could think of was Jesus being betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. Okay, and Abimelech hired worthless and reckless men, and they followed him, and they went to the father's house and killed his brothers, the 70 sons of Jerubbaal. But Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, was left because he hid himself. Okay, so when I heard that, I thought of Matthew 10 about Jesus talking about persecutions are coming. Now brother will deliver up brother to the death, and father his child, and child will rise up against parents and cause them to be put to death, and you will be hated for my name's sake. But he that endures to the end will be saved. Okay, so it's just amazing how much is like parallel to what we have been given. Okay, but Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, was left because he hid himself. Okay, so, and at this point, the pastor said, maybe it was not at this point, maybe it was the next passage, but he said about Jotham that God always saves a remnant. Okay, so, when I heard that, all I could think of was the 144,000. So, and I heard this is John in the book of Revelation 7. And it cried in a loud voice to the four angels who granted the harm to the sea, earth, do not harm anything until we have sealed the servants of God and their head. These are the ones that escape. These are the ones that are sealed. And John sees the great multitude from everywhere crying, salvation belongs to our God, the Lamb, and to the Lamb. And they are in their white robes, and these are the ones from the Great Tribulation who've been martyred. And if you go into chapter 6 of Revelation, you can see that that's what the white robes are for. So here we see that the brothers are all killed. These are the elect. These are the true heirs. But they are killed by Abimelech and his bunch of worthless and reckless men to kill the true heirs. Abimelech could never be the heir because he was the son of a slave girl. He wasn't a true heir. And so he kills all the true heirs except for one who's left. So, okay, let's continue. So, the parable of the tree. So Jotham comes back down in the midst of them making, so they made Abimelech the king. And then, so in the midst of this celebration, Jotham comes down, and he stood on the top of Mount Gerizim and lifted up his voice and cried out and said to them, he gives them the parable of the trees. Basically, he says, okay, you have this tree, and this tree, and none of them wanted to step up and reign over. Then all the trees said to the brambles, come and reign over us. And you can take shelter in my shade. But if not, if this not the truth, if in the truth you anoint me as king over you, then come and take shelter in my shade. But if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Lebanon. Okay, so basically, if what you've done is pleasing to God, then fine. But if you've risen against my father's house and killed his 70 sons and made him Abimelech, the son of the female servant, king over your Shechem, because he's your brother, if you have acted right and sincere, then rejoice, and let him rejoice in you. But if not, let fire come from Abimelech and devour the men of Shechem, and let fire from the men of Shechem come and devour Abimelech. And then he takes off because he was still in fear of his brother. So he comes and he gives a warning and messages to the people of Shechem about what they have done. And when he is standing there on the mountain shouting down to them, and this is the remnant of God that has been saved, the only thing that I could think of was the two witnesses from Revelations 11. And if anyone wants to harm them, fire proceeds from their mouth and devours their enemy. And if anyone harms them, then he must be killed in that manner. Anyone wants to harm them, so nobody can harm the witnesses at this point. So that's what I was thinking about when he was talking about that. So Abimelech reigns over Israel for 3 years. Well, I know in Revelations the Antichrist will reign for 3.5 years before, but I thought that was interesting that it was 3 years. So after that, now Gal, the son of Ebed, came to his brother. So now they're going to start a revolution, and basically he wants to remove Abimelech, and Abimelech got wind of this, and he was upset about it. So what Abimelech does, he comes and he makes war with them, and then they're on the run. And he went to chase them and found them at the entrance of this gate, and they came to the city, and they were killing people and all of that, and demolishing it. And he demolished the city and sowed it with salt. So what happened is that when he put salt everywhere, it basically killed off all the crops, and so that nothing would grow there. And I think the pastor used the word desolate. And when he was talking about that, he said that Shechem was basically the place where they had entered into the promised land, and it was the place where it was like the holy place of Israel at that time. And when he said the abomination, or not the abomination, when he said the desolation, I thought of the abomination of desolation. Anyway, they went to the people fled the city, and they shut themselves up in one of the towers. First they did it one for the other tower. No, it was a temple, I think. And basically they cut down a bough and followed Abimelech, and they put it against the stronghold and put fire to them, and all the people of the tower of Shechem died, about 1,000 men and women. So people are on the run, and they burnt up the first of them. And then Abimelech went to Thebez, and they camped against it. But it was a strong tower in the city, and all the men and all the people had fled there and shut them in there. So Abimelech came as far as the tower and fought against it, and drew near to the tower to burn it with fire. But a certain woman dropped an upper millstone on Abimelech's head and crushed his skull. And when I heard that, all I could think of was Genesis 3. And when the Lord God said to the serpent, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between you and her seed, and he shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Talking about Jesus here. And we have a reference here. It's amazing. Okay, so this certain woman is a reference to Mary, and this upper